What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. It is the Prop Queen Pod. We're here for the next hour talking all things Monday Night Football, college football, and NBA. We've got good guests today. Will Hill going to join the show from over at VSiN. He'll talk not only Monday Night Football, but we've got college football to discuss because the craziness that ensued yesterday when it came to the college football playoff rankings. We'll get Will's Hill thoughts. We'll also hear from him about what best bets he's got going into the weekend. And Jared Block, who always joins us on a Monday, going to talk Monday Night Football and NBA props tonight. Prop Queen edges at the end of the show. We will talk Monday Night Football props. I've got props for each side, Chargers, Eagles. We'll drop my prize picks lineup here as well. It hit yesterday in the 4 o'clock game. That game yesterday between the Packers and the Bears ended up cashing the Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns easily, and the under Caleb Williams rushing yards was not as easy, but we did get there. Yesterday, my Baltimore Ravens looked like absolute shit. They suck. I hate them. I hate saying that, but I do. I don't know who I hate more, the Yankees or the Ravens, because they are the two most talented teams in sports that suck. Like, come on. The Ravens, I literally tweeted this, and I know people say that Pro Bowl doesn't matter, but it still shows you how good to the public eye a team is, especially because it's the Ravens. Ravens players getting nominated for Pro Bowls that are not named Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's not as if we are talking the Kansas City Chiefs who have been in the Super Bowl multiple times. We're not talking about public teams like the Eagles who just won a Super Bowl. Like the Ravens haven't even been in a Super Bowl with Lamar. And yet they've got pretty much their entire lineup filled with Pro Bowlers, MVPs, Offensive Player of the Years. What else? We've got some, just linemen that are great. Running backs are great. Tight ends are great. Wide receivers. Zay Flowers had a good game yesterday. And yet the Ravens suck. And you can't blame the defense, Craig Abel, because it was the offense that couldn't put up anything yesterday. So the Ravens, whatever. Like, I'm just going to look at the odds real quick. The AFC North has the Steelers favored at -150, the Ravens +150, Bengals 14-1. Some big news actually for the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me find it. Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end, who obviously that was the offseason craziness, was Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. Where was he going? And now he's going to be out potentially for the entire season. Had a hip injury. He's missed the last few weeks. Might need surgery. So Trey Hendrickson being out is a huge loss for the Cincinnati Bengals, who defensively clearly already struggle. I mean, just look at yesterday. It looked like the Bengals were going to win, and all of a sudden the Bills just came back. So be careful. AFC North, that one sucks. That one hurt. Yesterday was absolutely brutal. We're going to move on to today, though, because in good news for the Chargers, injuries are looking up, minus the fact they still have no O-line. Amarian Hampton, the running back, going to be back after being on the IR since week 5 when he fractured his ankle. So now the question mark becomes, how the hell do we handicap the running back room? And I'll ask Jared Block that question later on in the show. We'll see how he decides how we're going to play Vidal and Hampton tonight in the prop market. Some other news when it comes to the Chargers today, because this was an interesting stat by John Ewing over at BetMGM. Justin Herbert is a home underdog. Lots of L's. 1-9 straight up, 3-6-1 against the spread. And on the flip side, for Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Eagles, he's 69% against the spread as a favorite against teams with a winning record. The Eagles, this one's been moving against them, though. They were -3. It's now down to some -2s, 2.5. So I'm very curious now if it's just injuries because Justin Herbert's officially in, if they, of course, somehow baked that into the line, obviously, but now is it moving 0.5 point because Herbert's going to play? They didn't activate the Chargers another quarterback, so it's pretty telling that it looks like Justin Herbert is going to play tonight. I will ask Will Hill about Notre Dame. We'll talk about that and get his thoughts because you guys know, as much as I follow along with all the storylines, I don't have an opinion on the college football storylines. The ND snub, I know, was the biggest deal yesterday, and we will definitely talk about that. Just trying to keep up with the chat. Colts might not win again. Daniel Jones out with the Achilles injury. That sucks. I feel terrible for him because that was such a great season. But I don't feel terrible for the fact that I said the Jaguars are going to win the division this year. I was looking for value across the board preseason, and I was like, don't sleep on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a little bit because Houston pissed me off last year. I had the CJ Stroud over season-long passing yards, and that loser sucked down the stretch of the season. So screw him because now he's having a great end of the season. The Texans on an absolute hot streak, beating the Chiefs last night in Arrowhead, by the way. And I know you guys are all going to think I'm crazy, but I am a big believer in astrology. Last year was my enemy year. And if you know anything about Chinese astrology, enemy years suck. Like I'm a dog, and last year was the dragon and their enemies. This year, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are in their enemy year, people. So don't sleep on it. They're pigs, and it's a snake year. And in the Chinese calendar, pig and snake are enemies. And both the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are pigs, which is why they work so well the other 11 years. Not a snake year. The other 11 years, it doesn't matter as much. But this year, enemy year, and you've got a quarterback on a pig team, both pigs, telling you that's why we were under on Kansas City on the win total, and Kansas City is going to probably miss the playoffs. Chinese astrology, it works. I'm telling you, listen to it. Will Hill thinks I'm crazy, and that's why he's coming on the show, because I love when people are on the show and know that I'm a little insane, but it works, Will. It works.
What's going on? Thanks for having me. I'm just trying to keep up here, trying to take some notes. Pigs, dogs, Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence. Stroud, you're throwing a lot of information out there. You got to go a little slower so people can pull off to the side of the road and get out a pen and paper and keep track of this stuff.
Most of these people are on YouTube and Twitter, so it's not like we're on the radio like you VSiN fancy people over there. How you doing? How's life?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I know yesterday college football, obviously the big story was the Notre Dame snub not getting in. What were your thoughts?
I had no problem with it. I think people just like to complain. No matter which team got left out, there would be a group of people complaining if Bama got left out. And I do think there was a sentiment to leave Bama out because they were the standalone game Saturday. We all watched them get their butts kicked. And people feel like Bama always gets a break. But if Bama got left out, which I know some people wanted, they would have said, you know what, you can't use a conference title game against them. They made it. They're the SEC runner-up. You should leave them in. All right, that's a fair point. If you're going to boot Miami, people say, wait a second. You're going to boot Miami. They beat Notre Dame head-to-head. That's not fair. That's a fair point. And if you're going to beat Notre Dame, people are going to get mad like they are now and say, hey, this is one of the 4 or 5 best teams. Look at their power ranking. They only lost to Miami and to A&M, and both were last second. A&M was on a bad call.
About this, she said, just don't lose to Miami.
There you go. I mean, there you go. And they didn't beat anybody. I mean, they beat Purdue and Stanford. You look at their wins; it wasn't impressive. So, I get their frustration. We have these rankings every week. They put on a big production, a big TV show, and they're behind. Or Miami's behind Notre Dame every single rankings until the final week when neither team played the final week, and they get leapfrogged. So. It's not a perfect system. Somebody's always going to get left out. And it used to be, you could be undefeated and not have a shot. Now you get 2 losses in these teams, still get a shot. So I just think generally people just want to complain. People like to get mad at committees. People like to just be outraged. I had no problem with it. I get why Notre Dame is frustrated, but I thought ultimately, and I did have some Miami to get in because I thought that at 6 to 1, I thought maybe they just don't want to leave the ACC out. Maybe they don't want to discourage teams from playing week 1 games where, Miami beat Notre Dame in week 1, like we talked about. If you're going to not honor that result, teams aren't going to play these games week 1, and that's not good for the sport. So was happy Miami got in, even though I bet them. I have to admit, waking up Sunday morning, hour before the show, minutes before the show, I said, you know what, this isn't going to go well. You look at the odds just kept moving towards Notre Dame to make, Miami to miss. That's one where the odds, the market was not correct. And obviously Miami gets in and Notre Dame doesn't. I actually think Miami's pretty live here in this final, but in this tournament. But I had no problem with what the committee did. I know I'm in the minority and people want to scream and yell, but I thought it was a tough job. I thought they did a reasonable job. The last thing I'll say on this, we don't need James Madison and Tulane in this tournament. I mean, it's supposed to be the 12 best teams. These are not 2 of the 30 or 40 best teams. That to me is an issue, but that's an issue with the structure of this thing.
Speaking of the structure of it, how do you handicap it since it's pretty unprecedented seeing so many teams?
I just go game by game. I think the 2 mid-major group of 5 teams are pretty much dead man walking here with James Madison and Tulane already played Ole Miss and lost by a zillion. Um, I think James Madison is going to go into Oregon, and a hungry Oregon team, that, remember, they had a bye last year, and then in their first game against Ohio State just got run off the field. So this is not going to be an Oregon team that overlooks them or takes them lightly. Oregon's going to look to be up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, and I wouldn't put it past them. So I really like Oregon in the first round here. Like I mentioned, I think Miami plus the points is live, because remember, the first month of the season, a lot of the talk was Miami versus Ohio State. Forget Miami versus Notre Dame. It was Miami, Ohio State. Who's the number one team in the country? Miami looked that good. They've got real NFL guys on both sides of the ball. So I think Miami, new lease on life here, getting points with all their NFL talent. I think they're live. And, the last one here, Oklahoma, I have a hard time seeing. They're so bad on offense. I think their team total under 21.5 is a good play. I just don't know how they're going to score here against Bama.
And just so you guys can see a little recap here. So you would lay 20.5 with Oregon. You're that confident.
Yeah, I think that closes. I mean, I know there's some dead numbers, 22, 23, but I think that might close even 24, the other side of 24. I think this is like 14-0 before you can blink. James Madison, for anyone that watched them Friday night against Troy, I mean, that was very dicey the whole way, and that's not a Troy team. That's exactly, Miami or Ohio State.
That was like a 30-point spread, too.
Yeah, and Troy hung in that game. So I think James Madison is just going to be simply overmatched here. I just don't see how they score, even though I know they play slow. They can slow the game down, all that stuff. I just think that's a brutal place to play, and I think it's, you and I are big baseball fans. It's almost like going from a knuckleball to somebody throwing 100 miles an hour. I think this is just going to be a speed they're not really.
I thought you were going to say like going from Philly to the Coliseum.
That's another one too. That's another one too.
Craig Abel saying in the chat, he feels like Ole Miss will have a chip on their shoulder from losing Kiffin. How do you approach the Rebels?
I worry about the distraction. Who from the staff is leaving? It's a lot of points to lay. I'm not saying I want to take it with Tulane, but you could play it the other way too. And you could say, like he said in the chat, that they have a chip on their shoulder. But I don't know. Like when you're dealing with that much upheaval in the coaching staff, I just worry about the distraction element. That would keep me away from laying it, but I'd probably lay it before I took it. Even though, like I said, these teams played in September and it was an ugly game. Ole Miss absolutely buried them. Hard to expect much different this time around.
Jamie, and I said going from Philly, like a tough place to play in baseball, to the Coliseum, which is not. That was the reference. I'm actually saying Philly's a great place to play and a scary place to play. There are a lot of scary places to play, but of course, as we get further through the college football playoffs, you're in more neutral sites. When you're looking at the college football futures market, how much do you dabble in it, and where would you go?
Miami, I think, is the best value. I think in their 25-1 range, depending on where you shop, just because, like I said, I think they'll have a new lease on life, a little bit of a, hey, this is a second chance here. And they've got real NFL guys. Bain, defensively, is one of the best players in the country, going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Beck's going to be an NFL player. They've got NFL skill guys. A lot of people, you talk to, the people in Vegas that make the numbers, power ratings, things like that. Notre Dame is one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country. I think if Notre Dame got in, a lot of people might pick them to win the whole thing. Thought they were better than they were last year.
Everyone just keeps wanting to pick Notre Dame because they want to say who cares about conferences.
No, that's true too. But Miami beat that team, and that's not a team that was easy to beat. And Miami really, I thought, dominated the game for long stretches, even though they won by a field goal. So to me, Miami is the best value. I don't trust the coach to ultimately win 4 of these, but I think there is value at the 25-1. And if they win against A&M, Ohio State looked pretty vulnerable Saturday night. They couldn't really move the ball. You can kind of poke holes in their schedule, like who do they play? Texas week 1, they're not that good, all of those things. So I think it's pretty wide open. I do like Miami here with the value.
Okay. So Miami right now on FanDuel 22-1, right there in the middle of the pack. I like it. Monday Night Football tonight. We've got a good one because the line keeps moving against the Eagles, and it was -3, then it was -2.5, seeing some -2s pop up. They're on the road against the Chargers. Before we get to your play, because I know you have a play on the total, is this line move because Justin Herbert's officially active? I feel like this was baked into the line, though.
Yeah, I think it was probably like a halfway line that there was some uncertainty of will Herbert play or will he not. That's why he probably moved off of the 3. I think it's a good teaser leg with the Chargers if you have books that let you tease and link something up for the following week, whether that's the Bears versus the Browns, and get that from Bears 7.5 point favorites to 1.5 point favorites. I do think the Chargers, if nothing else, will keep this game close, which kind of plays into my handicap of the game. I like the under. Both these teams play super slow, 30-something seconds per play. That's near the bottom of the league in terms of pace, slowest teams in the league. And Harbaugh likes these ground and pound games. He likes these physical games. And if you watch Philly on Black Friday, the Bears just ran it down after down after down. I'm sure the Chargers see that and say, you know what, let's just make them prove they can stop the run. On the other side of the ball, Philly has not really generated explosive plays on offense. They've been more of a plotting offense. So to me, 20-17, that kind of game, I think it's an under, a close, low-scoring kind of game. So I like that under 41.5.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very low total for a game that's filled with a bunch of studs. The Chargers, a lot of injuries. Justin Herbert's hand. You've got the running backs with Marion Hampton coming back. The linemen have all been hurt. Just how the hell do we look at the Chargers with a full, full confidence?
No, it's a good point. And I think that's another reason to like the under. I just don't know with all of the injuries along the offensive line, especially for the Chargers, a unit that was really a strength that's turned into a weakness.
I had the Chargers to win the division this year, which probably could have happened if it wasn't for those linemen.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad bet. It wasn't a bad bet at all. It was super live. Denver's gotten lucky. Kansas City's not as good.
Everyone was on Denver. I was choosing between the two, and now the public is going to win on Denver.
Yeah, it certainly seems like. I just don't know that they can block Philly. I don't know that they can block Philly. So to me, look, it's the NFL. We would have sat here yesterday and said, Browns versus Titans. They're not going to score 40 points. They're not going to score 50. And when they scored, damn near 60 points or whatever it was. So the NFL has a way of throwing curveballs at you. That being said, I do still like the under, though.
The NFL's been so crazy this year, Will, and there are so many storylines to get to, like the AFC North, the Chiefs potentially not making the playoffs. Which one surprised you the most so far?
It has been a really, really weird year. I mean, the Chiefs is the obvious one. And if you want to talk yourself into a long shot ticket, it feels like they're dead. It doesn't feel like it's their year. They are, I think, 25-1 to win the AFC. If you just want to make the case, and you're going back to Monday Night Football, if you do like the Eagles tonight, look at the Chargers schedule. At the Chiefs, at the Cowboys, at the Broncos, and they have a game against the Texans. Maybe the Chiefs can get on a run here and take that spot, but it is the Chiefs missing the playoffs. I guess they were due for one of these years, but when you look at Mahomes, I mean, they've basically been in the Super Bowl or a play away from the Super Bowl every year of his career, and now for them to miss it altogether is pretty stunning. I was shocked they went for it. Fourth down, deep in their own territory in a tie game. That was, to me, just completely reckless. But yeah, I think it is the Chiefs missing the playoffs here. If that's what ends up happening, I think that's the most surprising thing for sure.
The Bills finally surpassed the Patriots to be the favorites to win the AFC at plus 370, at least on FanDuel. Patriots plus 390, Broncos plus 390, big drop off to Texans then plus 630. Just with a bunch of teams in the AFC with quarterbacks and teams that don't have as much playoff experience as a team like Buffalo. Obviously, Denver has a head coach with experience, but not so much a quarterback. How do you see the AFC?
Weird, very strange. Because
there's value. There has to be.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I wish I would. I'm late to the party. I wish. I don't know. If you gave me a free roll on anything, like just $100 here, who do you bet it on? I'd probably go with the Texans just because maybe that defense can be like a 2000 Baltimore Ravens or you remember that Broncos team from 2015 that was just dominant defensively.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
they're so good defensively.
Super Bowl, so.
Yeah, and they're so good defensively. They've got a pretty good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's regressed since his rookie year, but Stroud's pretty good. And that defense, boy, they were hitting last night against Kansas City. So, I mean, some of the value's gone, but maybe they can win a division. You get a home game. And like you said, it's been a weird AFC. We thought just 2 weeks ago, it looked like the Colts were about to beat the Chiefs. They're up 11 in the fourth quarter. Colts looked like they were going to be the 1 seed. Now they're going to miss the playoffs. It's been a very, very wacky year.
I don't believe in the Patriots. I don't believe in the Bears. Those are two teams that have great records and some of the easiest schedules. They are not even inside the top 10 in defensive or offensive efficiency, and yet they've got some of the easiest schedules in NFL history. So are you buying either of those teams, or you think they'll have early exits?
No, I'm not really buying in. I have a hard time seeing like either win the Super Bowl. I guess if you're the Patriots in the 1 seed, you get a bye and you get 2 home games because you find your way into a Super Bowl. It doesn't feel like they're a Super Bowl team, so I'm with you. I did get a little more respect for the Bears yesterday, even in a loss, which is weird because they've had all these wins, Haven't really believed in them. But then
They were
yesterday,
6.5-point dogs. They looked pretty decent.
yeah, they went toe to toe with the Packers. That game, could have gone either way. It was tied with 3 or 4 minutes to go. They had a chance to stick one in late and tie it. So I'm not high on the Bears, but I do think they're improving. I was pretty impressed with them even in a loss yesterday.
Since I don't get to talk to you too often, which I need to, but we love baseball. The winter meetings are starting. Everyone is on their way there. All my people and MLB are on their way there. Give me something crazy that is going to happen in baseball by spring training.
I mean, something crazy would be the Yankees going out and making some moves, but I don't think that's going to happen. That checks off one of the boxes. You asked for something crazy, but you asked for something crazy that's actually going to happen. So I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Well, even though you have to say the last 3 years at the winter meeting, the Yankees re-signed Judge, the Yankees got Soto, the Yankees had Max Fried, so it hasn't been all bad.
Yeah, I mean, keeping Judge, you had to keep Judge. Soto was great, but they didn't re-sign him, and then Fried was just kind of a makeup for losing Soto. So I don't know. I'm kind of sour on the Yankees.
Ended up being out, so it did save our ass.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he was great, led the league in wins. I will say that the Red Sox make a move for like Joe Ryan or a starting pitcher. I think if you're Minnesota, I know there have been reports they're not going to tear it down, but like, what are you clinging to? You've got all these trade chips and Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Buxton. You're not a championship team, so maybe Minnesota tears it down. But I don't know. I love these winter moves. I love this hot stove stuff. So hopefully we get some action here.
Yeah, hopefully we get action this
coming. Do you have a prediction? You're asking me all the tough questions. Do you have a prediction we can hold you to?
The Mets get an ace.
Who would that be, though?
I know that they wanted Fromber. I don't know if that can happen.
Yeah, I could see that. I
think they could go for someone like him. They need one. They keep saying Schwarber or this or that, and it's like, why do you keep building your lineup? It means nothing. You guys can't pitch.
Dangerous giving these pitchers 4 or 5 years, though. These pitchers break down left and right. It's very dangerous. It's almost like paying running backs in football. No, you're right. You're right. But Stearns is a very analytical guy, and he thinks he can patch it together, which completely backfired on him last year, trying to get all these 3rd and 4th starters. Eventually, like you said, you need an ace. Valdez to the Mets is a good fit, I think.
Yeah, I think it could work. I would love to also see Houston lose him, so that'd be great. Will Hill, where can everyone find you? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, Fox Sports. Should have been more podcast at not the Will Hill on Twitter. Check me out there. So good to catch up. Thanks for having me.
How many E's is that? There's a few E's in there.
There's one extra E. So the plus another E. So the
Will Hill. It is not the Will Hill like sportsbook, but it is this Will Hill. Thank you for coming on as always. Good luck to those bets this upcoming week and in Monday Night Football. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
We've got a few minutes until Jared Block pops on. Let's get to propaganda. These are the most bet on props over at BetMGM. Starting with the ones that are really the most bet on. 99% of money coming in on McConkey over receiving yards, which we have a work around coming up in Prop Queen Edges for the receiving yards. Jalen Hurts over his rush attempts. Jalen Hurts over rushing yards. Amarian Hampton over his receiving yards, and Keenan Allen over receptions. Here's what I'll say about this. Jalen Hurts runs the football a lot at home. They're in LA, and he really doesn't run the football as much. In fact, I'm going to get some... Where's Props.cash? I'll pull up Props.cash to show you guys exactly what I mean with the rushing yard splits for Jalen Hurts. Share screen. This is why the public doesn't do home road splits, and this is why we have to, because yesterday Jonathan Taylor ended up cashing because they don't look at home road splits. Rushing yards, okay? So that's Jalen Hurts rushing yards on the season, last 10 games. But now let's look this year. Home. Away. Home. Away. Lots more red. He's averaging 23 rushing yards a game on the road and averaging 31.5 at home. So be careful of Jalen Hurts home road splits. They do matter. I'm not touching the Chargers running backs. I don't care if it's Hampton. I don't care if it's Vidal. Hampton's just coming off the IR. He hasn't played since week 5. I have no clue what they're going to do with the two of them now that Vidal's got all those touches. Nope, staying away because it would be the way to play because the Eagles have been really bad against pass catching backs this year. Really good. Really bad. Like they have been bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs, the Eagles. But I don't know what they're going to do with them. So I'm staying far away from that. I guess we could also look, let me just see on Props.cash real quick with Keenan Allen. And remember, guys, use promo code PropQueen and you get access to all this Props.cash, 50% off your first month, which makes it like $9. And you get access to everything Props.cash. It's so helpful, especially because my favorite thing that it does is primetime games. And I just love seeing how players do in primetime. Like Keenan Allen through his last 10 home primetime. Woo! The public knows. Look at those home primetime games for Keenan Allen. Now I'm curious about the longest reception. Not that great lately. Okay. But receiving yards. Home primetime games for Keenan Allen. It's pretty impressive. So the public, I can't discourage the public on that one. Most bet player props, McConkey, we said, Hurts. Okay, those are all the same except the Vidal under rushing attempts, which I'm not touching. AJ Brown, we could go to Props.cash again real quick. And I'm also going to ask our next guest about those wide receivers because I hate choosing between Smith and Brown. Brown. Receiving yards away in prime time. Not anything too telling this year. 1-1. Not anything too drastic, so I don't care. The most bet anytime touchdown scores tonight, Saquon, Hampton, Vidal, Hurts, and Brown. You guys are crazy for touching the Chargers running backs today. But that's what our next guest is for because he's going to help us break down that backfield in LA. Let's bring on, as always, on a Monday, Trinity Analytics, Props.cash on Jarrett Black. How are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Riding high off Bears week as Packers fans, so I feel pretty good on a really, really slow day today.
You know what? You deserved that because you've had it really tough with the Giannis news over in Milwaukee. Yeah. How you feeling now about the Pack?
Well, even with Giannis news, whatever, Bucks are still terrible, right? Like they've won like 1 in the last 12. So it feels really good to, hear and give the Bears like 1 week of NFC North #1 seed treatment. So, yeah, I feel really good coming in. I think that Love's just been under the spotlight in a negative way all season. And Williams has been the opposite, and I feel like that flipped yesterday.
Are the Packers a Super Bowl team?
I don't know. I think we have yet to really show up against really good teams. And until we beat the Eagles, I think that they still have something to say.
Well, we haven't really spoken too much yet about props except for what the public thinks. So before we get started on your card, the running back room in LA. I mean, we've got Vidal, we've got Hampton. How the hell do we cap that backfield?
I don't think you do. That's probably the easiest answer. I think
that's what I said.
Yeah, you just fade it. Why get upset about something you have no idea what's going on?
You fade it or you don't pay attention to it.
Right. And I think that the way that I would like... So I guess question, did Matt come on today?
No, he did not.
He did not? Okay. Well, I'll take over the kicker responsibilities today. I think that the only way that I can trust the running backs is by trusting in Cam Dicker.
Oh, okay. So wait, hold on. Now you got cut off. I knew that would happen. Why are those correlated?
I just think that this is a scenario where we've seen, the big glaring thing for the Eagles is that they've been decimated. They're allowing the most yards before contact in the NFL with Jalen Carter out for those 2 games. So you've seen that obviously play in the Bears' favor. It also happened in the Cowboys game the week before. They gave up over 100 combined yards to Cowboys running backs. So it's a real thing. And I don't think that that is something that can be improved very quickly. So if we think that the Chargers, no matter who's running the ball, is going to do well, I also think Herbert can run too in this game. I just think that gives them a lot of positive field stuff. And I think that on the flip side of that, like they might fall short in a couple of these passing scenarios. So I think that lines up really well for Dicker at home. I'm not really like, I understand like I saw the Ewing ATS stuff earlier. I saw, really positive numbers for Philly, really negative numbers for Herbert at home in prime time. I think that everything on paper just trends the opposite direction today. So I was looking at your the graphic right before this about popular plays and stuff. And outside of like one name, I have mine on the exact opposite page.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you pretty much. Oh, that's NBA. We'll get to that in a second. That's my page. Oh my God, I'm a hot mess. Don't look, everyone. Shield your eyes. This is what we're looking at right now. We're on the same page about Jalen Hurts, McConkey, Dicker. I completely agree with you. How come you're going under passing yards, though? I'm playing it a little different.
Yeah, I just think that this is a spot where you just, even if you like, if you are on the side of trusting the Eagles, I think that they win the game by just running the football well and passing in specific ways. The problem is that the Chargers are essentially like just as good as the Houston pass defense, and we saw how that looked last night for Patrick Mahomes, like one of his career worst games. I do think that this is a tough one here. I understand Jalen Hurts has been a good ATS favorite against teams with winning records and has done well in primetime stuff. I just don't want to go up against a defense that has allowed the second fewest fantasy points this year to the quarterback position. They are the fewest passing yards defense on the year as well, the fifth fewest yards per attempt, fifth lowest completion percentage. Like all of these numbers are like just as good as Houston, and we kind of saw how that panned out last night. I'm saying something similar could certainly happen today. And then, like furthermore, this is a spot where Jalen Hurts is one of the worst QBs against the zone defense concept, and that's something that the Chargers run 80% of the time. They are one of like only 3 or 4 teams that primarily run zone defense that heavy. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If the Eagles and Vegas believe, like if this is a -2.5 Eagles situation, I can't imagine that it's going to be because the Eagles are able to pass well.
Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. I just hate choosing between these two receivers. I know it's been Smith's year. I know that AJ Brown's been frustrated. How much does that go into the handicap, or was there data and analytics to back this up?
Well, the main, I guess, going back, so this is not going to look good on paper, which is why you're not seeing it trend well from like a most bet player prop situation. People see AJ Brown, they see back-to-back games of 100+ receiving yards, they see all the touchdowns. It's a huge box score day in the Monday Night Football game for those who are doing that. So I'm not surprised to see the public super heavy on AJ Brown. In the 3 games, I think 3 weeks ago is when he said that his fantasy owners should drop him, and since then he's been like a top 10 wide receiver. I think that today is specifically the reason that this is even on the graphic is because I do think if there's any way that the Eagles do well in the passing game, it's likely due to the fact that Devonta Smith's just been a better zone receiver, even dating back to college, but specifically with AJ Brown on the field. AJ Brown's always been a better man coverage wide receiver than Devonta Smith has been. And he is I think just if we're looking at positive things, there's not many positives for AJ in this spot, whereas Devonta's just a better zone receiver. And furthermore, I don't think Dallas Goedert's a factor at all in this game. It would be something if he was getting like 4 to 5 targets a game, 4 to 5 receptions a game, but he's only averaging 2 receptions the past 3 games. Chargers are one of the best teams against tight ends. I think the only way that they move the football through the air is with Devonta Smith.
We're on the same page for Ladd McConkey because the public is heavy on his over receiving yards. I'm not playing it that way. I'm playing it the same way as you. This is in my prize picks lineup. Ladd McConkey over his longest reception. How come you decided to go with it?
Yeah, I went there because he's done really well. Or at least Herbert has done really well in the primetime longest reception market as well. I think we can look at that in a little bit, but Ladd McConkey's done really well there too. I kind of like they've only played 2 primetime home games this year. He's hit the 23 or whatever it is in both of those, and if you include week 1 in Brazil as a home game, he's done it in all 3 of them this year. So that's positive. I do think though that people are looking at McConkey and Keenan Allen pretty closely, and I couldn't disagree more. I do think that like the 3.5 receptions market has some value, I guess, to a certain degree.
I mean,
like
you were logged in when I showed it on Props.cash. Keenan
Yeah.
Allen at home in prime time over receptions has cashed.
I get it, and I get it, and I like believing in receivers who've played a lot of years with the same QB in the same system. And this isn't really the same system, but it's definitely with the same QB in these types of situations. So I get it I get from a receptions angle. I just don't know if I can say here confidently that I like Allen more than I like Ladd. And that's specifically because the Keenan Allen is going to be playing in the slot, and since they've figured out this McConkey like early injury / ramp up stuff early on in the year, since October, McConkey's basically had like a 25% target share compared to it was more of a dead even split. If you look at the whole season numbers between he and Allen, and primarily Keenan has been playing in the slot, which is where Philly's defense has actually looked really good in the passing game. So it's not something I really want to go to. And they've been in the scenarios where they have been beaten. Like they've been giving up a lot of yards on the ground, which is I'm sure why people like to play these running backs against them. But if the defense itself, the passing defense specifically, has been getting torched by outside X receivers, and while McConkey's not the main one, that's Quentin Johnston. McConkey still can be moved around, and he has been more of the bigger threat compared to Allen's low A dot target stuff. So if you want to believe in the reception,
weirdly like that McConkey hasn't cashed in 2 weeks.
Oh, right. I mean, that's also part of it too. I think that helps keep the market down at least. Like I'd rather bet on him if he hasn't done it in a few weeks and that market comes down a good 10% rather than 80 plus yards 6 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I like when it hasn't happened and it's prime time now. So let's use what we haven't used in the last few weeks, which is McConkey on a big catch. Dicker, anything else you want to add since you've already addressed it?
He's hit 2 field goals in 8 of 12 this year. 4 of 6 of those games are at home. So from that angle, it's doing really well. I just think that at the end of the day, while Philly has definitely been gashed by the run, I'm not really sure what this Chargers running back room necessarily looks like, and that can lead to kind of systemic failure situations. I think that they are able to do well and continuously put themselves in good kicking positions. I think that they'll probably lean on that, and they tend to lean on Dicker, whereas like Jake Elliott's the exact opposite.
Especially in a low total game of 41.5. It makes sense for the kickers to be in action tonight. Anytime touchdown scorers?
I have, so the only one that really is a good payout is Quentin Johnston. I think that, like I said, he has not done well in the recent games. So like that specifically is going to give him a good price on paper. Whereas I'm not into betting on Jalen or figuring out which running back's going to get there or playing a juiced Saquon props. So I'll go with Quentin Johnston. I like the fact that they're getting beat over the top in big play scenarios. I don't think it's really comparable, but this George Pickens was in this role a couple of weeks ago, and he absolutely smashed in this scenario. We also saw some guys do well in the Bears passing game, Luther Burden specifically, and he's kind of been being used as that kind of guy is Quentin Johnston. So I'm looking for a big play here, and I do think that while the Ladd longest reception stuff looks really good in prime time, Johnston could certainly be the biggest beneficiary in that passing game.
Just Rodriguez said, how about Brown?
I think that Brown in this game specifically is just overplayed at this point. I like to stay away from scenarios like that. That's more of that's how I play type of thing rather than but if you want to use the actual data that we have in front of us in terms of the matchup, he's not historically a good zone receiver. He's more of a man-to-man guy, like I said. So I'm just going to fade it. That would be more like if you're an alt receiving yards player or something like that. That's more of where I target AJ.
Do what the F you want. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, by the way. He said, if you could only pick one prop, do you feel better about Smith 4.5 or Hurts under?
I think I would lean Hurts under. That's where I'd go between the two of them. I think that it's going to be an uphill battle for a passing game situation all night. I just don't think that the Eagles have played very well whatsoever, run or pass, without Lane Johnson. And this is a nightmare matchup on paper. It's scarily similar. I'm not sure how much research you did for Chiefs Texans yesterday, but it's very, very similar setup for Jalen Hurts tonight as it was for Mahomes last night.
Earl Burton says he likes Herbert 225 plus passing yards, Brown over receiving yards, and Barkley over his rushing yards. I guess these are a bunch of alts. Thoughts on those?
The alt stuff's fine. Like, I think that, the one thing that I worry about for, like, I don't mind the AJ stuff because he can kind of do it in space as well. It's just like the man coverage stuff is really, really positive compared to the zone stuff, and I got to continue to harp on that because that's what I am believing in tonight. So with the alt market's totally fine there for AJ. I don't think he has an explosion game like he has the past 2 weeks. You can see a direct translation of like the Christian Watson role against the Bears last night to what AJ Brown was able to do in that situation last week. With that said, I do think the Herbert stuff's really good. I can believe in that from a 225 plus angle. And then what was the other one? Saquon rushing.
Yeah. 50 plus.
I worry. I just worry. I think that there's real pathways to failure in terms of what this team looks like on the ground without Lane Johnson. They rank bottom 5 in the 100 plus snaps, like the 2+ full games that they've had without him. They rank like bottom 5 in yards before contact. That's a really bad stat if you're Saquon Barkley. So I would rather stay away from that. I guess 50 is 50. It's not that much for him. If you have a good price and it's like plus 100 or plus even odds for 3 legs, that's fine.
Craig Abel says, does this mean you're leaning towards the Chargers tonight?
I am, and that's, I know, unpopular. None of the trends like that. And Herbert has not been a good ATS QB at home on prime time against like good teams. So say what you want about all that stuff. Sometimes it is right, and sometimes it is just not. And I think that the Chargers have a good pathway to victory tonight, or at least covering.
I did forget about this, and it's funny because I bet this earlier in the year, and I forgot Eagles in prime time. Jahan Dotson over his receiving yards or over his longest reception prop have been money in prime time, but I think I lost on the last prime time game. I'd have to check it. Do you remember that stat?
I'm looking at it right now, or I will be able to find it in a moment.
Yeah, I lost in the Green Bay one. I'm looking at it right now on the, let me share the screen. Share screen. Props.cash.
Oh, okay. So that happened in the Detroit game. Okay. I'm trying to remember these. That Dotson, that first game against Dallas was rather fluky, but
so away in prime time here, it didn't hit 3 of the last 4. The Detroit game was home. The last away game didn't hit, which is, I think, the one I gave up on. But I bet Dallas and Giants, lost Green Bay, didn't bet it for Detroit. But these are his 4 primetime games for receiving yards, and his longest reception is the same because he really only gets like 1 to 2 catches.
Right. Oh, man. I just don't like targeting like the streaker, because he is the streaker of the 3 of them in this offense. I don't like targeting those kinds of plays when these defenses are playing zone coverage to stop big plays. So I would probably pass. And if you're looking at this year compared to, like, if you're looking at those 4 defenses, you can clearly tell which ones are the bad pass defenses at this point of the season. I would say the Chargers defense is a bit better than Green Bay's in terms of that.
We've also got some NBA, which we can run through real quickly. There is an interesting NBA slate tonight before we hit some of the cup games the next couple of days, where we only have 2 games on the slate. Just go through these 3 real quickly.
Yeah, it's not the best slate overall tonight. We also still don't know if Anthony Edwards is playing, which leaves things really.
I just saw an update on him while you were.
No, you're right. Yep, you're right. 3 minutes ago. Okay,
I just wasn't capping the NBA today, but he is available to play with an illness.
Yeah, well, that also kind of just knocks out the rest of his teammates. So it's kind of just what that is. Dylan Brooks, questionable still, but has a nice spot where the Wolves are allowing the most points in the league. 2 small forwards over the past 7 games for them. He's also playing without both of his star players for Phoenix tonight, and so he's going to be the primary ball handler. He's going to be the primary shooter. He probably takes the most shots on the team. I think that value is still relatively low while Booker's continuing to be out. Keldon Johnson's just been kind of a wagon without Victor Wembanyama. The PRA stuff looks really, really good. And I don't think that Stephon Castle being back takes away this play just yet, though I do think that could be a thing as we move forward. And then Jay Huff is essentially like the best. It's kind of, it's a bad day when Jay Huff is the best fantasy play on the slate. He is in a spot where he's taken over the starting center role for Indiana, and he's been really good from a points assist angle. I want PRA because the Kings have just been the worst team in the league against centers since the middle of November, essentially, like the last 7 to 10 game stretch. They've been getting killed down low by centers. They're not going to have Sabonis still. They're trying to figure out who is the actual closing center. There's been some Precious Achiuwa stuff. There's been a guy that I can't pronounce his name who's been playing recently for them. The name specifically, let me see what it is here. Either way, regardless, it's Jay Huff's role, and it's not the Kings are just going to get smashed continuously. So I think that when the best play on the slate is the guy that I would have to guess. I know your chat's some ball knowers, but I'd be really shocked if 60% of people knew who that was off the top of the head. So it's a rough night there. We should get some really good games the next 3 or 4 days. So I'd be really, really small with your NBA exposure today.
He said, who do you like for the top point scorer from any of the 3 games, King K?
Oh, with Anthony Edwards back, that throws a wrench into some things. But I would say if there was a day to get this guy, it's probably one, like the guys that I would believe in tonight are probably Dylan Brooks. That was a Freudian slip. Dylan Brooks or Pascal Siakam, I think, is another strong value. With Ant playing, that's going to be a spot where like most people will use him as king of the court or top scorer on the slate. And then I assume De'Aaron Fox gets some love as well. His matchup is not good from a scoring angle. So you got some good value with Siakam or Dylan Brooks.
How do you attack the cup games differently than a normal regular season game at this time of year?
I just treat it like a playoff game.
Oh. You think these teams really care?
I think when you're this far, I think they do. Because there are, like, sure, the stars are, probably not super phased by it. At the end of the day, some of those guys, mainly like the rotation players, like the lower end guys or guys fighting for contracts, like those are big moments for them. This is also where teams, I do think that what do we have, like 8 teams left, something like that. So I think that getting this far means something, and I think that you need one more game to advance to Las Vegas, and then you can start to get some guaranteed money. So if you are a guy that's on the lower half of the bench, this is a big deal for you. Like getting like 5 figures to 6 figures of prize money is pretty good.
Sounds good to me. I wish that I could do it. I did hit my prize picks lineup last night, so that did help, but it definitely wasn't as much as they'll win from the cup. But guess what? We win all the time, Jared. That's what you're here for. Thanks as always for coming on. Jared Block. Catch him at Jared R. Block on social media. He's at Trinity Analytics, Props.cash. You are the best. We're both going to be on a bunch of props today. So either we cash together or we will lose together, and we will address that next week. Good luck tonight.
That's how it goes. I don't think I want to close by saying I don't think I've ever been like on the other side this much of a primetime game this year on this show. So I hope we go and get a Chargers win.
Yeah, well, I hope our props do count.
That's more important, yes.
Thanks, Jared.
Bye.
It's time for the Prop Queen edges of the day. As I said, I am on a similar side to Jared in a lot of ways. Let me just tweet out. Starting with Jalen Hurts under his pass attempts. I actually like both unders, and I'll tell you which one I like the most when it comes to Royal Locks and my prize picks lineup. Hold on. So when it comes to Jalen Hurts under his completions, since the start of last year, Hurts has gone under 18.5 completions in 3 of those 4 games that he's faced a team top 10 in completions allowed. The Chargers have allowed the second least completions per game, with 75% of quarterbacks going under their completions prop 5 straight. Hurts under his pass attempts. He's gone under 28.5 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games, dating back to the start of last year, under 28.5 pass attempts against teams that are top 10 in pass attempts allowed. And the Chargers have allowed the 5th least pass attempts per game. Again, 75% of quarterbacks have gone under 5 straight. And then there's Dallas Goedert. So I wasn't sure. I like longest reception props in prime time. I wasn't sure which one to go for, but everyone's going to be on Smith or Brown. And I actually realized that the Chargers have allowed 6 straight tight ends to go over their longest reception prop. And Goddard's cashed 14.5 plus in 6 of his last 9 road primetime games, averaging 20 yards per longest catch. On the Chargers side, Justin Herbert under his completions since the start of last year, when Herbert faces a top 10 team in completions allowed, Herbert's gone under in 3 of 4. Philly's allowed the 10th least completions per game at 19. 75% of quarterbacks have gone under their completion prop against Philly. And when the Eagles are on the road, 4 of those 6 quarterbacks went under, including Patrick Mahomes, Jackson Dart, Jordan Love, and Dak Prescott of late. Justin Herbert over his rushing yards. Now, I know that everyone's going to say it's crazy because he has that injury and he just got out of surgery. He got surgery on a finger on his non-throwing finger, his non-throwing hand. Herbert, when you look at him at home in prime time, it's crazy. I'll show you guys the Props.cash graph. I just have to find it. Justin Herbert at home in prime time, there is a lot of green. In fact, it dates back to 2023, hitting in every home primetime game. It's 7 straight, I think that is. Yeah, averaging 31 rushing yards a game in the last 10 at home in prime time. This season, he only faced 2 teams that are bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. He was on the road for both of those. Giants, 1 carry for 24 yards. Miami, 1 carry for 2 yards. But again, those were on the road. Both those games. Now, if you look at last year in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks, teams that are bottom 10, Cincy at home, 5 carries, 65 yards. Tennessee, 9 carries, 32 yards. New Orleans, 4 carries, 49 yards. Philly's allowing the 8th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks at 21 a game. The Eagles are also without their defensive end, Jalen Carter, due to shoulder injury. So with Herbert averaging 29 rushing yards a game at home this year, or 29 yards a game in general, this number feels low. So either we're getting this low number because it's fishy, or we're getting it because he's got the hand injury. But it is worth noting, Justin Herbert at home in prime time, it cashes. And it's similar to what I said about Jalen Hurts earlier, how the public is loving Jalen Hurts over rushing yards. But Jalen Hurts' home road splits are drastic. He's got a lot of rushing yards at home and not as many on the road. And the same thing goes for Justin Herbert, even though this year he actually is running a decent amount on the road. I agree wholeheartedly, and I hope I'm not jinxing myself by saying this, but I agree with Jared Block on the Ladd McConkey over 20.5 yards for his longest reception. He hasn't cashed this in 2 weeks, and it just makes me like it more. Like, I love when a receiver hasn't been put to use, and nonetheless in this way as often. This one. Oh, too many. Hold on. Too many graphics. I know. It's a matter of if you want to risk it with the broken hand or not. But it's just, like, they might not want to risk it. And maybe that's why the number is as low as it is. But I just have to do when I see those kinds of trends, I have to tell you guys. Just so you know that it exists. Just like this trend, Ladd McConkey at home in prime time over his longest reception prop, 20.5. It's cashed in 5 of the last 6 home primetime games in his career. It hasn't cashed in 2 straight weeks. So I really like Ladd McConkey tonight over his longest reception, not receiving yards. And to the same point that Jared made about Dicker, over 1.5 field goals made. It's a low total. You've got a quarterback that's a bit banged up. And then you could also, I hate how it doesn't let you add more than 10 graphics at a time. So this is the Cam Dicker stat. Home primetime games, it's gone over a lot. So if Justin Herbert's hand does bother him to the point that it doesn't allow him to be the quarterback he is, if the running back's being messed up because you're adding Marion Hampton back to the backfield and it's all messed up, if the Chargers can't score up against the tough D in the Eagles, granted no Jalen Carter, but it's a low total, and Cam Dicker at home in prime time, they'll send him out there. Dicker the kicker. They will send him out there if they are in even within 50 yards, 55 yards. Like, you know that Jim Harbaugh is not afraid to do that. Those are the prop queen edges of the day. Let's narrow them down. It is time for Royal Locks. Royal Locks of the day. Royal Locks on now. Royal Locks of the day. Jalen Hurts under his pass attempts and Ladd McConkey to go over his longest reception. Best bets of the day brought to you by Pickett Sports. So Jalen Hurts under, as I mentioned before, I have loved Jalen Hurts to go under today because when you look at him against teams that are top 10, when you look at Jalen Hurts against teams top 10 in pass attempts allowed, he's gone under 28.5 in every game dating back to last year. The Chargers allow the 5th least pass attempts per game at 29, but 5 straight quarterbacks have gone under. And then Ladd McConkey to go over his longest reception. Again, he's gone over this in 5 of 6 home primetime games in his career, averaging 30 yards per longest catch. And it hasn't gone over in 2 straight weeks. And he is one of the best deep threats on the Chargers. So if you want to make that a prize picks lineup, you could get $250, pays you $750. It's what I did yesterday in the Bears-Packers game that cashed. McConkey more than 20.5 yards for his longest reception. Jalen Hurts less than 28.5 pass attempts. $250 ends up paying you out $750 on Prize Picks. And do not forget that on Prize Picks, use promo code PropQueen. You get you play $5, $50 instantly is what you get in lineups. So don't forget to use promo code PropQueen when you sign up so you could get that deal. And also remember, if you sign up for Props.cash and you get all these fancy graphs just like this using promo code PropQueen, you get 50% off of the first month, which makes it $9. Overall, it's $19.99 a month. But it is so worth it to get all these trends. I used to literally have to go through and double click on ESPN and be like, okay, which ones were primetime games, which ones weren't. This helps me to eliminate those. I can also see how other quarterbacks do right there on my screen as opposed to, or other players do for that position right there on my screen as opposed to having to manually do that as well. Good luck to all your bets tonight. We've got the game coming up in a couple of hours. And if you need NBA, remember Jared Block gave out some of these NBA props, Brooks, Johnson, Huff, all going over on their points and PA and PRA props. Anthony Edwards is active tonight in the NBA. Tomorrow, I don't think I'm going to do a live stream because there's only 2 NBA games, but I will definitely have the Prop Queen Edges of the Day for the NBA tomorrow posted to the YouTube page at Prop Queen Sports. I'm working on a few different things that definitely are going to help people like even close to you. I'm doing a lot of how-tos. So if you guys are interested or if you have loved ones that are confused on gambling, my next step is to definitely be doing some of these how-to videos so that you can learn, or the loved ones close to you can learn how to use some of the apps, how to use what even gambling is, what props are. So if you have anyone that like wants to get involved in gambling or just wants to learn a little bit about the lingo and what we're all talking about, if you have a wife, a girlfriend, a husband, whatever, that doesn't know anything about betting, or a brother or sister, I'm going to do these how-tos tomorrow, post them to YouTube. I have a whole Prop Queen betting guide that's about to be released in the next few days, and it's all free. So just so people can, Mark, if your mom wants to learn, it's not even about getting people to be good bettors. It's just about teaching people the industry. Like the Prop Queen betting guide isn't so much about teaching you tools for how to handicap. It's more just teaching you the lingo, teaching you why favorites are favorites, what is an underdog, just I made a whole glossary of prop betting terms for people. I teach people how to read the lines. So it's all coming out in this free prop betting guide. And of course, YouTube at Prop Queen Media, it's all free as well. And definitely I'll show you guys a sneak peek of it when it's released. But it's going to be super helpful for people like my mom. That's my mom. She's going to understand the lingo now. Mama Mark is going to bet on the Yankees. That's amazing. That's amazing. Mama Mark is going to bet on the Yankees this year. That's what we're going to teach her. At the end, I'm going to say, for Mark's mom, make sure that you bet the Yankees over the Blue Jays. So I'm going to tell her. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I will see you guys all in a couple of days. We'll talk. I'll let you know. But tune into the YouTube page for the NBA prop edges tomorrow at the Prop Queen Media YouTube page.